use yours sometimes. Good morning.
Hi there.
Hello. Hello to you.
Welcome back, all of us.
Welcome back.
Let's get started. We're on session number 71.
71.
In our last session, we came across the term ashta vijnyana. And I had to do a little research because I wasn't familiar with that term. So why don't you read what ashta vijnyana is? It's a Sanskrit term, of course, which means 8 consciousnesses.
Ashta, we mentioned, was the word for the number 8, ashta. And okay, ashta vijnyana, or I've heard the J pronounced as a hard G, ashta vijnyana as well, not sure which is more accurate, means the 8 consciousnesses, a central concept in the Yogacara school of Mahayana Buddhism.
Northern Buddhism, Tibetan Buddhism, and the Upper Asian countries.
Now the Yogacara, I've heard a word similar to that, Yogacharya, which is like a name or a title of someone, but this is a proper name of the school, Yogacara, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. School of Mahayana Buddhism. This philosophical model explains the mind's workings in detail and the cognitive processes that construct the reality we experience. The 8 consciousnesses are divided into 2 main groups. The 6 functional consciousnesses, parvritti vijnanani. These 6 are tied to immediate sensory and mental functions. Okay, so the 8 consciousnesses are divided into 2.
2 groups.
Yeah, 2 groups, but 6 in one and I guess 2 in the other group. That's interesting. Mm-hmm. Okay, so 6 are tied to immediate sensory and mental functions. 1 through 5 is the 5 sense consciousnesses. Okay, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. These are the awarenesses that arise from the 5 physical senses upon contact with an external object. Eye consciousness, that would be chakshu vijnana, visual awareness. Okay, that's eye consciousness or visual awareness. Ear consciousness, shrotra vijnana, which is auditory awareness. Nose consciousness, grana vijnana, awareness of smell. Tongue consciousness, jivha vijnana, awareness of taste. Body consciousness, kaya vijnana, tactile awareness. Interesting. And then here's number 6 of the 8, mind consciousness, mano vijnana. This is the integrative consciousness that coordinates and processes the impressions of the 5 senses. It also deals with mental objects, thoughts, and ideas. The 2 deeper consciousnesses, I guess that'd be 7 and 8, these 2 are the foundation of the other 6 and explain the processes of karma and rebirth. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
7 is diluted or defiled mental consciousness, klishta mano vijnana. This consciousness is associated with the ego and the illusion of a separate self. Interesting. Diluted or defiled. Wow, that's a strong word.
Well, yeah, it's twisted.
Yeah.
It's deformed.
Right. This one is responsible for self-centered thinking and the attachments that lead to suffering. That sounds very Buddhist in nature.
Yeah, and this is the essence of what the Mahatmas teach.
And then number 8, storehouse consciousness, alaya vijnana. This is the most fundamental level of consciousness, which acts as a storage place for all karmic seeds, bijas. In the scheme that we typically refer to, that would be the causal body or the higher mental body. And this is the alaya vijnana. These seeds are the imprints of all past actions, thoughts, and experiences. The alaya vijnana carries these seeds across lifetimes, and when conditions are right, they mature and ripen into future experiences, which is referred to also as sanchita karma. The whole prarabdha karma storage, and then for this lifetime is sanchita. This is a wonderful teaching that corresponds. Different cultures, different areas on earth have the same teachings taught in different ways, just like religions do.
And we can thus see why the Mahatmas teach this same system. Mm-hmm. This is what they teach. We focus more on Raja Yoga, which is the yoga of meditation, but meditation has everything to do with this.
Yeah, of course it does.
We're going to see something else. I've mentioned in the past that one of the books that made a profound impact on me and has given me a lot of insight is the book called Letters on Occult Meditation. So I'm going to have Paul read a short excerpt from that, where, according to Alice Bailey, the Mahatma at that point, the Master DK, transmitted through her mentally the information for this book. In fact, it's a compilation of numerous letters. So over a period of several years, he periodically wrote letters, and each one is a distinct teaching. And when they're all put together, they make an excellent commentary on how meditation works. So let me have you go ahead and read that excerpt. He used the word forms numerous times in this, but I had a little trouble sorting out what exactly he meant by forms. So I actually think in our case, the word practice works better. So I switched out the word practice for forms wherever he used it.
Practice for forms. These practices will be some of the first revealed. Oh.
This is not at the beginning, but near the beginning of the real instruction.
Last session, we were talking a lot about how there was a need and a lack of specific practices
and that's
to do.
Exactly why I found this, because this is what it would have been nice to have. This would have given them something to work on from the beginning.
This is like 35 or 40 years later, I think, right?
This started in the 1920s, yes, and went on for a couple of decades.
I'm excited.
Yeah. This is just a tiny segment, so yeah.
These practices will be some of the first revealed, and already in the various meditations advocated by the wise guides of the race, you have some of the lesser foundation outlines designed for working on the lower mind. These practices will be based on the special need of any one body and will seek, through the manipulation of matter, to build that which is needed to fill the gap and thus to supply the deficiency.
So it has two functions. He didn't mention the other one. The first one is purification. Get control of the lower subplanes of each one of these planes and slowly eliminate anything in those that is impeding your progress. And then build in to the higher planes those traits and characteristics that are helpful.
That is exactly what yoga philosophy says as well. The yogis, which of course these guys are yogis, they tell us that the physical yoga practices, which involve, of course, movements with the body, but also mindful breathing techniques and work on your emotions, of course, through energy and the mind, that is exactly what physical yoga is supposed to do, and it's all preparatory. It's not an end in and of itself. It's preparatory to purify and prepare what we're calling our lower nature, which is our physical body and our lower mental and emotion. Prepare those lower bodies for the higher work of a conscious spirit to work through. That's exactly the same thing that we learn in yoga. This manipulation will be begun first on the etheric matter of the physical body by practices of breathing, respiration and inspiration, and by certain rhythmic currents set up on the mental plane and driving from thence to the lower ethers. The etheric body will thus be strengthened, purified, cleansed, and rearranged. The Hatha Yoga Pradipika, the text on physical yoga practices, says almost that exact thing word for word. You'll strengthen, purify, heal, immunize, stabilize the physical body and your lower mental processes through the practices of yoga and breathing, so you can be a fit vehicle, so you can be conscious. So when we're given the power to launch the nuclear button, we won't do it. We're mindful enough to not do that. Many of the diseases of the dense physical body originate in the etheric. That's interesting.
Yes, he says elsewhere that almost none of the illnesses we have originate in the physical body.
Yeah,
it originates in the etheric, the emotional, and the lower mental.
That's crazy. And it will be an object of attention at as early a date as possible. The emotional body, likewise, will be dealt with through special practices. And when the pupil has strenuously cultivated the quality of discrimination and made it a working factor in his life, then these practices will be gradually imparted. Amazing. This is what we've been saying the whole time. 3 nons. Work on those things first. But until he can distinguish somewhat between the real and the unreal, and until his sense of proportion is wisely adjusted, the emotional plane should be for him a battleground and not a field for experimentation. Wow.
Yeah, so in other words, stop trying to become clairvoyant or to see on the astral plane.
Right.
Do this work first.
There's that pop culture thing about, astral projection and astral travel. And he says right here, emotional, which is the astral plane, that's what it is, should be a battleground, not a field for experimentation. The aim of the pupil who treads the path is to build an emotional body that is composed of matter of the higher subplanes, is clear and sensitive, an accurate transmitter, and which is characterized by a stable vibration, a steady rhythmic motion, and is not prone to violent storms and the agitating effects of uncontrolled emotion. Thank you, DK. I appreciate that. He speaks very well. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
When the idealism is high, when the percentage of matter of the 2 higher subplanes, is he speaking about the subplanes of the astral?
Yes.
Okay. Is approaching somewhat the desired figure, and when the pupil recognizes practically all the time that he is not his vehicles, nice, but is indeed the divine dweller within them, then certain things will be imparted to him. Oh my gosh. Which, when carefully followed out, will do 2 things. They will act directly on his emotional body, driving out foreign or lower matter, and stabilizing his vibration, stability, resiliency.
Equanimity.
It's crucial. We can't progress very much, if at all. They will build in emotional matter a body or form that he can use for certain work, if needed, right? In the astral world, most of the masters don't spend time there, and can employ as his agent to attain results that will be part of the purifying and constructive work of the emotional body. This is as much as can be said, but it will serve to show the type of practice aimed at. That summarizes so much of our teaching right there in one page.
So, in other letters, not to the entire group, because he was working specifically with about 63 students, potential chelas.
He meaning DK?
Mm-hmm. And he would periodically send personal letters to each of those. And they weren't often. Generally, no more than about twice a year, and sometimes a couple of years in between. But here's the difference. So many occult schools today give a curriculum that is supposed to be for everyone. But he was giving specific instruction to individual students because each one had different needs and was at a different level of advancement. How do you throw all classes of a school into one grade and teach them all and have it meaningful? You can't.
It makes perfect sense, though. That's the classic guru to disciple relationship, and that's how it probably should be for the most part. It's no different in yoga classes. If a yoga teacher tells you that this one practice is the way it should be for everyone, this is it. You don't change this. You don't change it. I'd question that, because how could it be? We're all different. We have different shapes and sizes, physically, mentally, emotionally, energetically. This makes perfect sense.
And all of this, what we have given you so far today, applies to what we're studying in general and specifically to several things we're going to cover today and in our next session. Let's continue with the Mahatma letters to A.P. Sinnett. We're on letter number 109. And this one didn't go to Sinnett directly. This actually went to either HPB or Damodar, we think, because it was received in Madras. Now, remember, all of our previous letters recently have been received in Allahabad, generally by mail or by other means. But guess what? This is March of 1883, and Sinnett is on his way to London. So he closed out everything at his rented house in Allahabad and is now homeless, basically. But he stopped at Adyar and was there for 2 or 3 weeks before he left. So he was there with HPB and Damodar. So more than likely one of those received this. This was in March 1883.
Give Mr. Sinnett my salams and ask him to comment on the newspaper cutting enclosed. I have in mind for him to write about the subject editorially. Tell him also that time is short and ought not be wasted. K.H.
Yes, don't waste your time. It's short. So he had actually cut out from a newspaper a little short blurb, and this is his introduction to the cutting. This is what he wrote directly to Sinnett.
The following may lead later on to a curious confirmation of our, quote, obscuration doctrine, which so puzzles my friend, the editor of The Phoenix.
That's the new newspaper that he's planning to start up.
Will you kindly oblige me and comment on it? Oh, wow. He's asking for Sinnett's thoughts. This is cool. Yours, K.H.
So remember, the obscuration in between root races and also in between rounds was something that Sinnett was struggling to comprehend. So many times K.H. will use the word obscuration not only to mean these specific sorts of pralaya, but also to mean the fog in his mind.
You've been obscured.
Obscured, yeah, his obscure thinking.
This is the newspaper cutting now. Sir John Lubbock's opinion confirms the conclusion long since put forth by some of the most eminent astronomers, namely, that there are at this time many dark bodies in the solar system. That is, bodies which now emit no light, or comparatively little. He points out, for example, that in the case of Procyon, the existence of an invisible body is demonstrated by the movement of the visible stars. Another illustration which he cites relates to the notable phenomena presented by Algol, the bright star in the head of Medusa.
Algol was a star that came from Arabic, and the term was al-Ghul. Ghul sounds like a word in English, doesn't it?
It does.
And it's actually sometimes called the demon star.
Oh, wow.
But Medusa, what is Medusa?
The snake-haired mythological creature.
Right. And so this star is one of the stars in the snake hair.
Wow. This star shines without change for 2 days and 13 hours, then in 3.5 hours dwindles from a star of the second magnitude to one of the fourth, and then in another 3.5 hours resumes its original brilliancy. Well, that's odd.
Yes. Go ahead.
According to the view entertained by Professor Lubbock, these changes must be regarded as indicating the presence of an opaque body, which intercepts at regular intervals a part of the light emitted by Algol. So something's revolving around it.
Yes.
Fast, quickly, too.
Yes. So the speculation, both by scientists and by the Mahatmas, was that it was a dark body, perhaps one that was in obscuration.
Well, couldn't it be just a planet?
Well, this is a sun. This is a huge star. So a planet probably wouldn't obscure it anywhere near that much.
Okay, you're probably right, actually, because the relationship of sizes is...
Right. And from that distance, a tiny planet wouldn't make much of a difference.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So now let's see what science today says about the Algol star system. Wait, star system.
System.
Let's see what they say.
So modern science today. Oh, I see where we're going with this. Oh.
Yes.
The Algol star system is a detached binary with two main stars, Algol A and Algol B, in a tight orbit around a shared center of mass. What's in the center?
Oh.
A third, more distant star, Algol C, also orbits the pair.
So it's a triple star system, not a binary.
I wonder what they mean by detached binary.
I'm not sure what they mean by that, but the third one is very small in comparison.
Now, know that a binary star system is somewhat rare, but it's not rare. I mean, they exist. We don't think our star is in relationship with another star. It may be, but twin stars exist, and they kind of rotate around each other. Mm-hmm. And I would imagine trinary?
I'm not sure what the term is for that. But neither the Mahatmas nor the scientists realized that it was a binary star at that time.
The eclipsing effect is caused by the interaction of the two closest stars. The brighter star, Algol A, is a hot blue-white main sequence star. The dimmer star, Algol B, is a cooler, larger, and fainter orange subgiant star. If you don't know your star life cycles, they get bigger and redder before they supernova, and then they go into a white dwarf at the end.
And what the scientists today realize is that the less bright star passes in front of the other one, so it diminishes its magnitude.
Wow.
For 3.5 hours, and it has passed.
Can you imagine how fast they must be moving in space to do it that quickly?
Yes, exactly. Yes. So now we want to see about black dwarfs.
Oh, I said white dwarfs. Okay, so let's see the difference then.
And this is pertaining to obscurations.
Okay. Black dwarfs. A black dwarf is the theoretical endpoint of a star's evolution. Here's what you should know. A star, like our sun, will eventually become a white dwarf after exhausting its nuclear fuel. A white dwarf glows from leftover heat, but no longer produces energy through fusion. Over trillions upon trillions of years, the heat will radiate away. Wow, trillions.
Trillions, yes.
We don't even think this observable universe has been around. The universe is only 13.8 billion years old, which is not nearly enough time for any white dwarf to have cooled down enough to become a black dwarf in this universe, in this dimension.
Right. In this dimension, yes.
When it finally cools to the temperature of the cosmic microwave background, which is the background radiation left over from the Big Bang, it will cease to emit significant heat or light. Because they emit no light, black dwarfs would be extremely difficult to detect. However, they would still have a gravitational influence on any objects nearby. Wow. And that's not a black hole yet.
No, it's not a black hole.
So what is it? It's spinning gas that's just like kind of cooling down. You know, our gas giant planets like the Jupiters and Saturns. Right. Maybe
it sounds more like that.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it can be seen, but it doesn't emit significant light.
Right. Wow. Okay.
So what they're saying, scientists, is that there are no black dwarfs yet in our universe. And so when KH was comparing that statement from the newspaper to their idea of obscuration, it kind of falls apart. But I'm not willing to just say, yeah, they were wrong. There may be an explanation for that, so I'm willing to wait to see what that might be.
Science does acknowledge, though, as it's saying here, that a black dwarf is theoretically plausible.
They're saying it is coming, but we're way too young to have experience with that. Now, we're on letter number 110, and this was, again, not received by Sinnett directly. So go ahead. Who did it go to?
To Olcott.
Mr. H.S. Olcott. And for whatever reason, he was at Allahabad. And this is now May 1883. So we skipped from March to May.
And we don't have Sinnett's comments on the newspaper.
No, we don't have his comments. But this was sent to Olcott. This is really interesting.
Sure. You have been ordered home for a rest that you need, so you should decline any further healings until you hear from Morya. So Olcott is doing Reiki, or he's doing...
Yes.
Or?
We mentioned in a very early session that at this period of time, and for more than a year, Olcott discovered that he had healing ability, amazing healing ability, so good that he could cure lameness of the feet, blindness sometimes.
Wow.
I mean, amazing cures. And what he noticed was that most of these cures were temporary.
Oh.
They would last for a while, and then it would return.
That's really interesting.
Of course, we know, too, that these problems are caused by karma. And sometimes the karma is getting close or has been eliminated, but you may still be left with the problem. So some of those certainly could be fixed by someone who has the energetic ability to do that. And that's exactly what it is. We're going to learn a little bit more about this. But Olcott, who was very interested in mesmerism and later in hypnosis, found that he had a really good ability to hypnotize other people or to use that mesmeric power to heal them. So he had people showing up on the veranda where he lived early in the morning, lining up, and he would spend all day long doing these cures. And sometimes they would have to come back to tune them up or to make it last longer. A few of them were permanent, but most of them eventually wore off.
The masters were okay with him doing that?
Yeah, it was great training, but as we see, he depleted his own energy, so he's been ordered home for a rest.
The Maha Chohan will indicate when you are to go to the Punjab. As the English mail goes tomorrow, you might do well to give Mr. Sinnett a friendly caution against being surprised if his paper project should have setback upon setback.
There's trouble brewing.
Oh. India is right now comparable to a great body of dry matter in which sparks are smoldering. Agitators of both races are doing their best to stir up a great flame. In the mad fanaticism of the hour, there isn't enough patience to think clearly on any matter, least of all one that appeals to conservative men. Capitalists like Holkar are more inclined to hoard their rupees than invest them in companies.
We mentioned Holkar once before. I think he was the Raja of Indore, I believe, a very wealthy state and had lots of money, but he was inclined at one point to help support this project. Not so much now.
Since miracles were barred from the first, as you and Mr. Sinnett know, I see delays, disappointments, and trials of patience, but as yet no failure. The lamentable issue of Bishanlal's rapid scramble up the Himalayas as a would-be chela has sadly complicated matters. Do we know who Bishanlal is?
No, this is the first time that's been mentioned. He was a probationary chela who got so excited that he went overboard. So what he describes as the mad ascent up the Himalayas, that's what he's talking about, is that he wasn't cautious, he wasn't careful, and it resulted in insanity.
Oh, no. Oh, no. And your eminent Shimla correspondent has made matters worse. That's Hume, apparently.
Yes.
Though unaware of it, he has helped precipitate Bishanlal's insanity and is consciously plotting in many ways to make us all into a holocaust, from whose vapors may loom the giant specter of Jacko Hill.
Where Hume's mansion is. He's got this dark cloud emanating from Jacko Hill that has an intention of turning everyone away from the Mahatmas and from Theosophy.
He uses the word Holocaust. That was way before World War II.
Oh,
right?
yes. Yeah.
So that word has been used.
We talk about the Holocaust, but Holocaust has been used for centuries.
Wow. Already he tells you that Sinnett is a credulous imbecile to be led by the nose. What does that mean, to be led by the nose?
Apparently he duplicated a letter, and we'll find out now.
Excuse me, my worthy friend, the bad taste which compelled me to duplicate for my ward, A.P. Sinnett, that last long letter of Mr. Hume's, which you have at the bottom of your dispatch box and did not intend HPB to see in full.
And remember, he's still talking to Olcott.
I had it neatly copied for your fiery colleague. He has had a deadly landmine prepared. Mr. Sinnett is now able to verify my old warning that he meant to set all your friends in London against the society. The turn of the Kingsford Maitland party has come.
What does that mean? In London, and by now Sinnett is in London, he and his wife and son sailed from Madras on March 30th of 1883. So they have been in London for a while. He had been working on his second book, Esoteric Buddhism, and by the time he landed, it was pretty much complete. So it was published almost immediately after he landed in London. He had obviously no problem finding a publisher because his first book, The Occult World, was so popular. Whether or not people believed it was another thing, but many, many people were buying it and talking about it.
The diabolical malice which breathes through his present letters comes straight from the Dugpas who provoke his vanity and blind his reason. When you open Moria's letter of 1881, you will find the key to many mysteries, including this one.
Now, again, this was to Olcott, so I don't know what that letter from 1881 was, but 2 years previous.
Intuitive as you naturally are, chelaship is still almost a complete puzzle for you.
To Olcott, you still can't figure out chelaship.
As for my friend Sinnett and the others, they have scarcely an inkling of it yet.
None of you are catching on here.
Why must I still, to put your thoughts in the right channel, remind you of the 3 cases of insanity within 7 months among lay chelas, not to mention one's turning a thief?
So who are the 3?
The one we just heard of, Bish and Lal.
Bish and Lal. And it turns out someone we met before, Godolphin Mitford, a.k.a. Mirza Murad Ali Beg,
that guy.
is completely insane at this point. And the third one is Fern. And he's the thief because, remember, Olcott had to kick him out of the TS because he had stolen from an employer.
And the causes of insanity are similar in all 3, but maybe not the exact same. The Dugpas, the actual dark magicians, have a part to play, but they can also do it on their own. Bish and Lal got too excited and was probably doing all the practices too much and maybe, messed his constitution up somehow.
Yes.
Mr. Sinnett may consider himself lucky that his lay chelaship is only in fragments, and that I have so consistently discouraged his desires for a closer relationship as an accepted chela. He says he's lucky because of that.
Yes, because of these 3 cases of insanity. People who were impure or who got extremely angry or were in too much of a rush.
Right. So what KH is saying here is if Sinnett were to have been granted more access to the masters.
If we had given you more power, you could be one of them.
Right. Okay, that's what he means. Few men know their inherent capacities. Only the brutal ordeal of chelaship develops them. The brutal ordeal of chelaship develops them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can develop them with dark magic too, but it doesn't end well. It's not sustainable.
No, and this is Hume's problem.
Right.
He's like, just tell me how to do it. I have everything. I don't need to be tested. I don't need all your crazy ideas about how you have to prove yourself. I'm not going to do that because there's no reason.
Isn't this the same as like every single story that we hear of? Now, I'm not saying we need to believe, fantasy and sci-fi stories, but isn't this the case with everyone when the villain gets powerful and rises to power, but it never ends well.
No, they end up destroying themselves.
I mean, even in real life, almost everyone that I can think of, every villain eventually falls.
Because selfishness and greed and disregard for anyone else. I mean, they don't care. They're psychopathic.
Almost every dictator, like the Berlin Wall, ended up falling. Communist Russia fell. We have a lot that are happening now that haven't fallen yet, but this is the cycle.
Yes, and they don't see the end of it, or they don't care.
They try to grip so tightly and think that it's going to last forever, but it never does.
And they're addicted to the power. Wouldn't matter if they even saw that that's going to be the end, because they're addicted to a drug.
That is so true. I've studied a little bit about the last few days of Hitler. He was in complete denial that the Red Army was coming in, that he had lost, but he didn't want to believe that.
No, and this is important. One of the things the Mahatmas know better than any people on earth is human psychology. You can't become a real chela without studying human psychology, not in an academic system, but through the Mahatma's methods, by developing your awareness and your discernment.
That's what DK just said.
That's how you figure it out.
Yeah. And DK used the word discrimination, but we don't, that can be twisted a little bit. But yeah, discern. We have to be able to see for ourselves what is ultimately truth and false.
If you can't, you need to work on that, because you will make no progress without it.
Few men know their inherent capacities. Only the brutal ordeal of chelaship develops them. Remember these words. They have a deep meaning. Moria sends these vases through me as a home greeting.
Yes, what in the heck does he mean by that? When he talks about the vases, I'll actually have you read this. Start at the last line there. This is from the letters of H.P. Blavatsky to A.P. Sinnett, and this was a year and a half later, in 1885.
Colonel Olcott had just returned home from some journey.
And this is H.P.B. writing to Sinnett.
He was upstairs in my occult room, also my writing room. We had been talking, and he examined a new cupboard for books with a mirror door to it on a wall in front of my writing table, whereas the shrine was on the wall on the right side of the table. It had been just built in the wall and could have no traps or holes in the wall at the back of it, for that wall gives on the passage from the staircase.
And the reason she mentioned that is because the dreaded report had just come out from the Society for Psychical Research, claiming that she was, number one, a Russian spy, and that she was the greatest fraud in history. And so she's trying to prove that the guy that did the investigation was an idiot.
The cupboard had one plain board at its back. Who wanted the phenomenon? What was said? I do not remember.
Yes, because the shrine was a place that phenomena occurred. That's where, for example, Sinnett, when he went to London the first time, a couple of years earlier, received a letter while he was visiting there, and many, many objects and letters appeared in this shrine.
But Olcott, after examining some books in the cupboard, received a letter from the Mahatma and was going away when I recognized that there was something else going on in the cupboard.
So both in the shrine and in the cupboard.
So he received a letter right then and there, it just materialized?
Yes. So for whatever reason, one of the Mahatmas sent a letter to Olcott while he was there, and she was aware of it. And she said, go get your letter. And he went and got it, closed the door. And then she said, wait, something's going on in the cabinet. Let's wait and see what it is.
So I said, stop, let us see what it is. Madame Coulomb was in the room. Then he opened the cupboard door and found two vases there with flowers in them.
Madame Coulomb, we will hear about a lot in the future. She was the housekeeper that had been there for quite a few years, that HPB helped because she and her husband were destitute. She had met them first in Egypt, I believe, many years earlier. And so they knew each other. And she tried to help this woman and her husband when they had no funds. So Madame Coulomb was their housekeeper. She had been sent to buy 2 vases for decorating their new property, still fairly new. And noticed that these vases were very similar, even though they were larger, to the ones that Madame Coulomb had bought for them. So let's find out what's going on with these 2 other vases. And they had flowers in them. So
In the cupboard.
in the cupboard, K.H. transported them, occult florist apparently. Add that to his many, many different métiers.
He made a great fuss over it. When I saw these vases, I said, or thought at the time, they are very much like those that I had just bought for the drawing room. Drawing room.
Yes.
It is Madame Coulomb who bought them in one of her journeys to town after furniture and provisions.
So, yeah, they gave her money. She went to town to buy things for the house, and among them were the 2 vases.
But these vases were a great deal larger, and mine stood where they were in the adjoining room on a corner table.
So she's like, wait, she only supposedly bought 2 vases. Where did these come from? They're obviously made by the same maker.
It appeared to me at the time that Madame Coulomb looked very embarrassed.
I wonder why.
Now I know why.
Yeah, so HPB said, now I know why. So what happened is that Madame Coulomb, had bought not 2, but apparently 4 vases. She had put 2 larger vases in her room, and she would sometimes give things to a ship captain to sell in other places and get money for them. So HPB didn't state it such, but I think she used the funds that HPB gave her to buy some extra things, and then she sold them surreptitiously, or was planning to. But Moria, with his sense of humor, took them from her room because they had been paid for by HPB and put them full of flowers in the cabinet.
I wonder if HPB is going to reprimand Madame Coulomb.
I don't know, but she was nothing but kind to them. We'll see how she got repaid later.
Jeez, that's not cool. I wonder if she got fired. You'd better say plainly to Mr. Sinnett that his former friend of Shimla has distinctly injured the newspaper project, not only with the Maharaja of Kashmir, but with many more in India. All he hints at in his letter to you and more he has done or is preparing to do. This is a KH letter, and you may say so to Mr. Sinnett from KH.
Yeah, so that letter was sent to Olcott to share with Sinnett. And he said, tell Sinnett this is a KH letter. Fortunately, the letter was given to Sinnett, and that's why we have it today. We're on letter number 111. We're moving right along here.
Yeah.
Now, this was received where?
London. Whoa. These guys can send stuff to London?
Yeah. If I remember correctly, it may have been a different letter, but one of them, could be this one, was received from France, mailed from France, and the supposition was that it was sent either to an adept or a chela who was in France and asked them to mail it to Sinnett to expedite the process.
Just real quick, when we were talking about the flowers, I had the thought that when phenomena like that is produced, it obviously takes energy, it takes strong mental focus on the producer. And if Moria was doing that, where
he would be in Shigatse most likely, or traveling.
And the HPB was, her house was in London.
No. HPB was Adyar.
Oh, okay. So it would have been several hundred miles at least.
Yes, more than 1,000, I believe.
So this process can be done at great distances.
Yeah.
Okay.
The energy required, though, is tremendous. And especially since flowers, a living object, was involved. Because from other reading I have read, they can transport anything that is made from materials, what we would call dead materials. Nothing is dead.
Like inanimate.
Inanimate. But they can also transport, even mediums can do that, transport flowers sometimes.
Now, that would be a different process, wouldn't it? Than like when HPB did her teacup, it was constructed from material at the location where it appeared.
And the other is called an apport.
It's actually transmitting from one place to another. That's different.
It's dematerialized, passed through the intervening distance, and rematerialized.
It's a beam me up, Scotty.
Yes, exactly.
From Star Trek.
So they can transmit plant materials, but apparently neither animals nor humans.
Probably because we're not allowed to.
Yes, it's forbidden, apparently.
Okay, letter number 111. London, July 1883. With whatever shortcomings my always indulgent lay chela may charge me, he can credit me with having provided him a new source of enjoyment. For even the somber prophecy of Sir Charles Turner that you would fall into Roman Catholicism as the inevitable outcome of your dabbling in theosophy and believing in the K.H. Maya has not dampened the fervor of your propaganda in the bright world of London.
So he's getting people who are making fun of him and claiming he's going to become a Catholic from all of this nonsense that he's studying. His book, Esoteric Buddhism, was completely different from the first one, as K.H. will mention. And remember that over the last 2 years, more and more enemies have been building up, specifically in London. Many of the former members of the Theosophical Society, and most of them still members, are getting very skeptical, and Hume has a lot to do with that. Remember that there were other enemies, Hari Chand Chintaman, for one, and they were working, he and a couple of others, also Dr. Billing, who became very bitter because HPB showed what a liar he was about his wife that he divorced in order to marry another woman. And so he was an enemy, and they were trying to convert C.C. Massey into one of their conspirators to destroy Theosophy. And he was just about on the verge, about ready to convert. But one by one, they were becoming angry at or disenchanted with Theosophy. So he's going to find that he's got a lot more work. He went back to a kind of adoring public because of all the phenomena, and they were expecting more, but this is very, very different. So he received a little different reception after this book was published.
If this zeal should be cited by the altruist of Rothney Castle,
again, that's Hume.
Hume. In support of his declaration that your gray matter is supercharged with Shigatse Akasha. Oh, he's funny.
He is funny.
It will still be balm to your wounded feelings to know that you are essentially helping to build the bridge over which the British metaphysicians may come within thinking distance of us.
So he's being a little bit sarcastic. He's like, they have no clue of who we are. Maybe what you're teaching them now will at least build a bridge that they can get close to us, but it doesn't sound very likely.
It is the custom among some people to glance back at their life's path from the hills of time they annually climb. So if my hope has not betrayed me, you must have been mentally comparing your present greatest pleasure with that in olden times, when you walked the streets of your metropolis where the houses are as if painted in India ink.
He's doing a lot of quotes, so obviously it's something that Sinnett had said or written.
And a day's sunshine is an event to remember.
That's London.
Yeah.
Summer came on a Wednesday last year, didn't it? Yeah.
One day.
Yeah.
You have measured yourself against yourself and found the theosophist and anak morally as compared with the old man, the handsome waltzer. Is it not so?
And again, I don't know all of the reasoning, but he's got several of these words. Anak has several different meanings, but I think in this one it means a child or offspring compared to the old man. So I think he's referring to the fact that Sinnett is more or less reborn. The old man is not the same. He is now the offspring, the scion of the progenitor.
That word anak is also used, it might not be spelled the same, but I think it is, in Filipino culture. Mothers refer to their kids as like sweetie or honey, anak.
That's actually in more than just that.
Okay.
It's in many South Asian cultures they use that term.
Like mijo would be a mi
Right.
in Spanish.
Exactly.
Well, this is perhaps your reward or the beginning of it. The end you will realize in Devachan.
Yes. This is only the beginning of it.
Oh my gosh. When floating along in the ambient ether instead of the muddy British Channel, foggy though that state may now appear to your mind's eye. Only then will you, quote, see thyself by thyself, and learn the true meaning of Atmanam, Atmana Pashya.
And this is the first time that he has actually used accents to indicate the proper spelling and pronunciation of the Sanskrit terms. Before, he's just kind of used what the English were using at the time, and this time he's using what we would consider the standard transliteration diacritical marks today. So I'm assuming that in the meantime, British Asian scholars or studying Asian philosophy had come up with a better transliteration scheme.
Are those diacritical marks the same thing as a macron, a
Yes.
line? Okay. The arrow.
At this time, they didn't have anything in their typeset that would be used as a macron that we see today. So instead, they used this French circumflex, the little hat.
And then is this a poem he's quoting?
Yes, this is something that is quoted from Vedanta philosophy.
To know itself, even as a shining light, requires no light to make itself perceived.
And then he says, from the great Vedanta philosophy. So the higher self doesn't require separate light. It is the light. It can see itself, and that is the only way it perceives itself. The lower self can't really perceive it as it is.
Once more, an attempt has been made to dispel some of that great mist that I find in Mr. Massey's Devachan. It will appear as a contribution to the August number of the Theosophist, and to that I shall refer Mr. Massey and yourself.
I looked it up, but there's nothing additional to what we have discussed in previous things, and part of that is because we had a better understanding of it. It was mainly clarification.
Even then, the obscuration may not be removed, and it may be thought that the intended explanation is nothing of the kind, and that instead of winding the clock, a clumsy hand has instead broken some cogs. This is our misfortune, and I doubt if we shall ever be quite free of these obscurities and alleged contradictions, since there is no way to bring the askers and respondents face to face. Still, at the worst, it must be conceded that there is some satisfaction in the fact that there is now a way to cross this river, and you are building the foundations for a royal bridge. It is quite right that you should christen your new brain baby with the waters of hope. Whoa.
Yeah, I assume that's his new book and the fact that he is teaching the Londoners as much as possible everything that he has learned through all of these Mahatma letters, more than 100 at this point. The time he mentioned before, it is now the turn of the Kingsford Maitland party. C.C. Massey had been the president of the British Theosophical Society since HPB and Olcott visited there in 1889, I guess it was. And so at that time, the British Theosophical Society was founded. C.C. Massey had also been present in New York City in 1875 when the original TS was formed. So he had been there from the very beginning. And I don't know if he resigned, but he retired from the presidency. And Mrs. Kingsford, Anna Kingsford, had been elected president. So she is currently the president of the British TS.
The culture of society more often inclines to lawn tennis philosophy than to that of the band adepts. Oh my gosh, the band adepts.
I'm not sure why you said band.
Whose game has worlds for balls and etheric space for its lawn.
Yeah, wow. So his British society, they're more concerned with their drinking and partying and their ego enhancement and their lawn tennis. So they play with tennis balls on a manicured lawn. The adepts play games too, but their games involve globes worlds, and all of space, ether. That is their playground.
A little different.
A little bit different, and the British high society doesn't believe that.
Your first book was spiced with phenomena to tickle the spiritualistic palate. This second one is a dish of cold philosophy. And in your section of London society, you will scarcely find enough of the wine of sympathy to wash it down. So what is he suggesting, that he was too direct or dry?
No, he's suggesting that they loved your titillation in occult world. This is not going to be received the same way. It's like, give us something more interesting.
But he still has his blessing, though.
Oh, yes, absolutely. No, okay. A few people will grasp the concepts and run with it.
But it won't be sexy enough for everyone else.
No, the ones that Hume and Sinnett were thinking they could impress won't be impressed.
Many who now think you mildly mad will buy the book to find out if you should be declared a lunatic to prevent you from doing more damage. But of all your readers, few are likely to follow you towards our ashram.
Yeah.
They knew that, though.
And that's the same today, 140 years later.
Yeah. Still, the theosophist's duty is like that of the farmer, to turn his furrows and sow his seeds as best he can. Yeah.
Yeah.
The rest is up to nature, and she is the slave of law.
That's all you can do. It's all any spiritual teacher can do. You give the people what you've got, your understanding of it, and the rest is up to them and nature, and you cannot force it, so don't waste your energy on trying to make people believe something.
How cool must it be for KH to see his lay chela, who really seems like a chela at this point to me, writing a book on the philosophy that was just taught to him? If I were in the shoes of KH, I'd be trying to micromanage it and say, oh, you said that line wrong. You got to change that before you publish it. But I'm sure he's very thrilled. He's thrilled that Sinnett put this together. But I wonder how the philosophy is taught.
And you're right. KH always is very hands-off.
Yeah, I need to work on that myself.
You and me both.
Yeah.
No, we need to let people fail. That's how they learn lessons.
Yeah. But apparently KH is pretty happy with his book. Do we have that book?
Of course we do. I read it quite often. Yeah. I have a stack of books near the chair in my bedroom that every evening I go in there and I read sections from several of them before I go to sleep at night.
How did he do? How did Sinnett do in translating the philosophy?
It's hard for me to grasp it from the way he writes. Yeah. I don't really relate to his writing for whatever reason. And there are some writers that may have really good ideas. Unfortunately, Annie Besant was one of them. I've never been able to really read and get much out of her writing. It's kind of flowery, and his isn't flowery, but just the way he expresses things are different from the way I would express it. Occult world we've talked about, but not so much esoteric Buddhism because it hadn't been written.
Okay. I do not feel bad for the poor lay chelas because of the, quote, delicate weapons they have to work with. A sorry day it would be for mankind if any sharper or deadlier ones were put in their untrained hands. Ah, you would concur with me, my faithful friend, if you could but see the complaint one of them has just made on account of the agonizing results of the poisoned weapons he got hold of through the help of a sorcerer.
And now he's going to talk about one of these chelas who went insane, and it's one we know.
Crushed morally by his own selfish impetuosity, rotting physically from diseases engendered by the animal gratifications he snatched with demon help. Behind him a black memory of wasted opportunities and hellish successes. Before him a pall of dark despair of Avicii. This wretched man turns his impotent rage against our starry science and ourselves, and hurls his ineffective curses at us, who he vainly begged for more powers in chelaship. I think I know who we're talking about. And whom he deserted for a necromantic guru. Oh my gosh, really? Who now leaves the victim to his fate. Oh my gosh, This is terrible. So his new guru abandoned him?
No, this isn't Hume.
Oh, okay.
This is our good friend Mirza Murad Ali Beg.
Oh, okay.
Remember, a year or more ago, he was hoping to redeem himself from this horrible thing he had done. He used the help of a black magician, a sorcerer, to cause a woman, a virtuous woman, to fall in love with him.
Right.
He took over her mind and convinced her that she was in love with him and apparently committed moral sins with him. And now she's a ruined woman. And he was hoping to redeem himself, but he didn't have the strength or the wherewithal to do what was required. So now he's in despair, he's gone insane, and this is the one who, remember, grabbed a sword from a sepoy at Wadwan train station and was trying to kill HPB with it. And fortunately, he was overcome by the police force there. But yeah, he died insane.
Be satisfied, my friend, with your delicate weapons. If not as lethal as the discus of Vishnu, they can nevertheless break down many barriers if plied with power. The poor wretch in question confesses to a course of lies, breaches of faith, hatreds, temptings, or misleadings of others, injustices, calumnies, perjuries, false pretenses, etc. The risk he voluntarily took, but he adds, if they, the Mahatmas, had been good and kind, as well as wise and powerful, they would have certainly prevented me from undertaking a task to which they knew I was unequal. That's not true.
So he's not going to accept responsibility. No. It's your fault. You should have known what I was going to do. Why didn't you stop me?
He obviously hasn't grasped anything they've been teaching him. In a word, we, who have gained our knowledge by the only practical method, and who have no right to hinder any fellow man from making the attempt, although we have the right to warn, and we do warn, every candidate, we are expected to accept the penalty of such interference on ourselves, or try to save ourselves from the same by making incompetents into adepts in spite of themselves.
Yeah, so we've got two choices. We can either prevent them from making any mistakes, or we can just say, well, you know what? You're good enough, so we'll give you all of the powers, and now you're an adept. what can you do with someone like that? It's going to cause complete chaos.
They're dangerous.
You've got someone who is completely untrained, incompetent, now in charge of some very powerful weapons.
Because we did not do this, he is, quote, left to live out a wretched existence as an animated poison bag, full of mental, moral, and physical corruption.
That's his own words, this Mirza Murad Ali Beg.
Jeez. This man has, in despair, turned from a heathen, an atheist, and a freethinker into a theist, and now humbly submits to him, with a capital H, an extra-cosmic God, for whom he has even discovered a local representative. Oh, he's being funny.
How nice.
Oh, my gosh. That's really funny. For whom he has even discovered a local representative. That's hilarious. And to, quote, all delegated by him with lawful authority. And we, poor creatures, are, quote, traitors, liars, and devils. And all his crimes are as a shining robe of glory compared to theirs.
Yeah, now he's like Hume. He's calling them the evil people.
Gosh.
He's saying my crimes look glorious compared to the crimes of the Mahatmas.
Now, friend, put away that thought that I shouldn't compare your case with his, for I do not. I've only given you a glimpse into the hell of his lost soul, to show you what disaster may come upon the lay chela who grabs forbidden power before his moral nature is developed to the point of fitness for its exercise. This is so important. You must ponder well over the article Chelas and Lay Chelas, which you will find in the supplement of the July Theosophist. Well, who wrote that?
That was written by HPB, but at the direction and dictation of probably KH, I believe.
That's why he's telling Sinnett to read it.
Many of the articles that she wrote for the Theosophist were the words of the Mahatmas, and sometimes she mentioned that, sometimes she didn't.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we are not quite finished with this letter, but we will finish it in our next session.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Really good stuff,
Wow.
really useful information for anyone who is contemplating this path. And as we've said many times, it is fraught with problems. Mm-hmm. It is steep and thorny.
Beset with perils of every kind.
I wonder who said that. And that's absolutely correct. And now we see what they're talking about. These aren't just flowery words. They describe exactly what a person is up against. And some of these people learned the hard way that they weren't fit, they weren't ready yet, even though they were, every one of them, convinced that they were. So take that as a warning.
Mm-hmm.
Now, any last words?
Oh, we've said a lot of words.
We've had words.
We've said words.
All good ones.
Yeah.
So, yes, thank you for following along. And we will have more really good information in our next session.